Hi, today's video is all about the amazing health benefits of sauerkraut. If you're new, welcome. I make videos all about alternative, safe, natural and effective ways to maintain and improve your physical and mental health and well-being. And if you're not new, welcome back. It's great to see you again. The structure of today's video is very straightforward. I'm going to discuss with you about what sauerkraut is. I'm going to list what I thought was about 25 benefits, but looking at the list just before I started recording this, it's actually more than 25 benefits of eating sauerkraut. And if you stick around to the end of the video, I'll give you some tips on how you can make your own sauerkraut because it's just ridiculously simple and easy to do. Before we start talking about sauerkraut, let's talk a little bit about bacteria. Now, if you don't know, you've actually got much more bacterial DNA in your body than you do human DNA. So I guess technically we're actually bacterial organisms. And there's different types, obviously. And if you did kind of broad categories, you'd have good bacteria and bad bacteria. And the whole point in having sauerkraut and other probiotics is that it's very important to maintain that balance. And the best way to treat bad bacteria is actually with good bacteria. Now, there's a couple of issues as we go through our life and things can get really out of balance. So the good bacteria is it's referred to as your gut flora. If you have chlorinated water, that can destroy the good bacteria, which many of us do because it's in the drinking water. If you have refined sugar, that kills the good bacteria and causes problems. And if you have antibiotics, that also kills not only the good bacteria, but also kills the bad bacteria, which is what it's supposed to do. The other challenge with antibiotics is that's also found in a lot of meat these days. So you want to be aware of that if you consume, I suppose, factory farm meat, that kind of thing. So moving on now to the sauerkraut, it's basically, in its simplest form, it's one of the fermented veggies and it's typically either red cabbage or white cabbage. Now, fermenting vegetables is something that used to go on for thousands of years. It's a great way of preserving the vegetables. It's also a tremendous food source because it has the good bacteria in it, but it also has lactic acid, which is one of the critical elements which is so beneficial for health. So let's move on now to the 25 plus benefits of sauerkraut. Number one, it reduces inflammation throughout the body. It also restores the balance of the gut bacteria, the gut flora we talked about, and that's absolutely critical because about 85% of yours and my immune system is in our gut. So if that bacteria is out of balance, it means that our immune system is out of whack. And another really critical component is it helps produce the enzymes which are critical for the correct digestion of food. About 90% of your food is digested by bacteria inside your system, and without that you can't digest your food properly, which also means that you can't absorb the nutrients from the food that you're eating, so you get like a double whammy there. In addition, it can improve lactose intolerance, although that really, I think, could be better fixed either by staying off the dairy, or if you're going to have dairy, have unpasteurized raw dairy from a good source, because that will still have the live lactase enzyme that won't have been destroyed by the heat treatment, and lactase is what helps digest the lactose. Now, there's a lot of scientific research to support the idea that we have a secondary brain, if you will, in our gut. I think everything's all interlinked anyway. So when you have sauerkraut and other probiotics, there are tremendous benefits for mental health, particularly to do with mood disorders, ADHD, autism spectrum disorder, and it really improves anxiety and depression. Another really interesting thing that I was reading recently was that if they take fecal matter transplant from a lean animal and put it into an obese animal, the obese animal then becomes lean, which shows you what an important part that the bacteria has to play. In addition, they did some research with some overweight people to do with fat around the middle, and it was 210 people. And when they gave them Lactobacillus gasseri, there was an 8.5% loss of belly fat over a 12-week period. When they stopped giving them that bacteria, over the next 4 weeks, all the belly fat was put back on again, which I found fascinating. Additionally, it can improve rosacea, eczema, and other skin disorders. Things like acne really benefit. It lowers blood pressure. There are tremendously beneficial effects for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, which affects millions of people around the world. It lowers LDL cholesterol, which is the bad cholesterol. And there are really positive benefits for pain relief and the reduction of severity of symptoms for IBS, Crohn's, irritable bowel syndrome, and leaky gut. It can really help to heal those things. Interestingly, it will help both with diarrhea and constipation, which are kind of opposite ends of the same problem. It can help with bloating and excess wind, which can be caused by Candida albicans, because it wipes that out. That'll be the lactic acid. And Candida, when it gets overgrown, is a really massive problem that can lead to all sorts of illnesses and many things you wouldn't even think of. And I'll probably do a separate video about that at some point in the future, because it's quite a big subject. And I think Candida albicans plays an enormous part in cancer. It's also great for the treatment of yeast infections and the prevention of recurring yeast infections. And also it helps to correct the pH not only in the gut but throughout the entire system, and a correct pH is one of the critical things for life. So you've got a couple of choices, and by the way, in the comments below, have you used sauerkraut? Do you use sauerkraut? What were the benefits? Would you like to try sauerkraut? So let me know what you're going to do with this. You've got a couple of choices. And sauerkraut is a bit of an acquired taste, but I've grown to like it. If you didn't want to take sauerkraut, you could just get a good quality probiotic like this one, but it really pales in not into insignificance, but it pales in effectiveness when compared to sauerkraut and the other fermented veggies. You can buy sauerkraut at the shops. It's in health food shops. Sometimes you'll find it in some of the grocery stores, probably some of the Polish shops and stuff around. If you have those near you, they would have them, the other European shops. Or you can make your own. I didn't realize just how simple it was. Now I'm going to do a separate video on this, but just really quickly, I can describe what you do with it. Buy yourself some red or some white cabbage, wash it, take the outer leaves off, cut it into 4 and take the core out, and then thinly slice it, as thinly as you can. Get a jar, preferably with a lid, but doesn't have to. You could use some gauze if you wanted, but with a lid. Put some water in there, filtered water, with a tablespoon of, or a dessert spoonful of sea salt. Mix that up, push all the cabbage into it, and then just put one of the leaves across the top inside. Make sure it's all covered in the liquid. Pop the lid on, and then every day just open it up to let the gas out, so it'll go like a little bit of gas comes out. I think I've seen the Americans refer to that as burping, which I thought was really cute. And that's basically it. Give that about 7 days, maybe 10 days. Put it somewhere that's out of direct sunlight and just let it do its thing. And at the end of that, you've got your fermented vegetables, you've got your sauerkraut. Now the one you saw in the red bottle, or the red liquid in the bottle, I actually have a teaspoon of that liquid in the morning now. It's great. You can also eat the sauerkraut, obviously. And I think we've really lost our way with that, because for years we made fermented veggies. And it was one of the ways of preserving vegetables. It also gives it enhances all the nutrients in there and is tremendously beneficial. So you can have sauerkraut with your meals. And I'd encourage you to actually look into that, because when you look at that list of things that it does for you, it's just a natural fit in a healthy lifestyle. Anyway, if you've enjoyed the video, please give it the thumbs up. If you can think of anyone that would benefit from watching this, please do share it with them, and share it on your social media platforms as well. If you haven't already subscribed and you like this kind of content, do click on the subscribe button below and click on the bell icon so YouTube can let you know when I release new content. And as always, I've so enjoyed speaking to you, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you in the next video. See ya!